Only one feller can tame the Wild West. Only one feller is young, dumb, and full of courage. And only one feller goes by the name of Roscoe Taylor, the Tallahassee Tween. Brought to you by KZSM.org. Tonight's episode, a tango with the terrible tall tale gang. Roscoe and his trusty steed, Checkers Justice, are sitting down next to a babbling brook deep within the forests of Oregon Territory, the northern corner of the Wild West. For the past 3 hours, Roscoe tried to learn how to fish with just a lasso and a piece of jerky as bait, but that was a dud, so now he's idly staring at the clouds, trying to see if any of them look like cuss words. Checkers is napping peacefully, snoring in a way that only a horse can.
I'm so bored. So bored. Bored!
What? I'm up. Oh, hey Roscoe. When did you get here?
Sorry to pull you from your slumber, buddy. I was just yelling about being bored.
No harm, no foul, partner. It's probably best you woke me up anyhow. I just got into a part in my dream where I found a needle in my haystack sandwich. Bad news.
Sounds like it. What could we do to pass the time? Everything around this forest looks the same. I need some excitement, some thrills.
Well, before we met, anytime I got bored, I checked out the local sheriff's office and perused the new bounty posters. Try that if you'd like.
Great idea. Where's the nearest town? It's trees for as far as the eye can see.
Well, back when I was in Horse Cub Scouts, they taught us that you could find civilization by moss growing on a stump, I think.
Okay. See any moss around?
No, but in Horse Boy Scouts, they taught us how to grow moss in a mason jar.
You have a mason jar?
No, but in Horse Eagle Scouts, everybody learned how to find civilization without a compass by listening to the sound of the wind.
Whoa, that's cool. Let's try that.
I never made it to Horse Eagle Scout, though. It just seemed like too much work.
Well, if we just start walking in one direction, we've got to end up somewhere. If we reach the ocean or the Canadian border, we'll know we've gone too far.
Okay, Junior, let's mosey.
They walked and walked and walked some more before they started to notice a severe lack of trees in the otherwise tree-full forest.
What happened here? There's so many stumps all around us.
Yeah, someone or something chopped down every tree within a mile radius.
Hey, you see that town way over there?
Yeah, let's head there and see if they have anything interesting to do.
Sounds fine by me.
As they got closer, they saw the population sign for Timbertree Landing. It clearly used to read 85, but this was scratched out and replaced with who knows anymore. The town was in shambles. Restaurants were littered with closed indefinitely signs. There was a huge crater in the center of town where a building should be. And at the sheriff's office, the deputy was openly weeping in the street.
What's wrong, mister?
This place looks terrible. Are you the law in these parts?
I don't even know anymore. Everything's gone to cowboy hell.
Just tell us what we can do to help. I'm Roscoe Taylor, the Tallahassee Tween. This is Checkers Justice, horse bounty hunter.
Well, Reggie, I'm sorry to say, but I'm the town deputy. And ever since the tall tale gang came to town, this whole place has been turned upside down.
The Tall Tale Gang?
Yeah, look at that wall over there. Those 3 wanted posters. That's them, the banes of my existence.
This has got to be some sort of joke. Are you seeing this, Checkers?
Hey, is that a picture of Paul Bunyan?
He goes by Saul now, but yes it is.
But he's just a work of fiction, folklore.
I wish you were right, Richard. I wish you were right.
These other 2 are also ridiculous. Pecos Jill? Are you kidding me? And Johnny Appleseed?
Pecos Bill had a sister, and she apparently loves crime. And that other feller, well, he's just regular old Johnny Appleseed.
I thought all these people were made up. You're telling me they're real?
Yes! And they are tearing this town apart. Saul Bunyan is their leader. He's about 80 feet tall. He's a giant and a criminal. The fella rides his huge ox all across Oregon territory, causing trouble anywhere he can. Pecos Jill is normal person size, but she was raised by a pack of wolverines, and she's even meaner now. She's strong enough to break a mountain in half, and her punches pack so much heat, she'll give a hurricane a black eye. The last one of the bunch is Johnny Appleseed. He ain't all that powerful, but gosh dang it, he's a lousy conservationalist. Guy just won't shut up about apples.
Now, that part doesn't sound that bad.
About 4 months ago, they came here, and they just stole the bank. Picked the place right up and just took the whole building. Ain't never seen nothing like it.
Wow.
I know. They got into some bar fight at the local saloon. Spun the entire building around, and it ain't stopped spinning. It ain't stopped twisting ever since. It's been a week, and the saloon is still flying around in circles at 100 miles an hour. When it first got spun, everyone in there jumped ship, except the poor piano player. And they had vertigo before all this, so as far as we know, they're just in that fetal position, puking their guts out.
You weren't kidding. Things are falling to pieces around here.
That's not even the last of it. They flipped Bargain Beth's budget brothel upside down.
Somebody's gotta do something to stop these evildoers.
Town sheriff tried to arrest him, but they punched him right up into that moon. He's still up there. It's hard to spot right now, but at night you can see him clear as day, just wandering around on that there lunar surface. God, he must be so embarrassed.
Okay, we've got a lot to do if we're gonna fix this town.
Right. First, let's go stop the saloon from spinning.
After that, we'll get your bank back and put those suckers behind bars. Not sure how to fix the tree problem or the sheriff on the moon, but we'll cross that bridge before we burn it.
Oh, thank you, boys. Thank you. Oh, don't die, though. I don't know how much heartbreak this little old deputy can take.
We'll try our best. Let's get a move on.
The boys headed to the saloon, which was hard to miss. It was the only bar in town and the only building they'd ever seen spin around like a disco ball or a hula hoop, and neither of those things had been invented yet.
Here it is. How long did the deputy say this place has been twirling around?
I think he said a week.
How are we gonna stop this thing?
How about we jump into it and run in the opposite direction?
Reverse inertia. Great idea. Well, let's get to it.
Roscoe ran straight for the porch of the saloon and jumped with one perfectly timed leap, and he smashed through the front door and found himself on the inside of the revolving tavern.
Now you come on in, Checkers.
Okay.
Checker's leap wasn't as well timed, and he jumped straight into one of the porch pillars and ricocheted in the opposite direction.
Ow! That hurt.
Try again, buddy.
With a running start and far more caution, Checkers bounded in through the broken door frame and tumbled into the saloon.
Wow. This feels so strange in my gut.
Yeah, it's like a merry-go-round times a million. Hey, there's the piano player.
Lounging at one of the tables, sipping on a constantly sloshing martini, the piano player turned and looked at our heroes.
Oh, somebody finally came in here. I thought I was just going to be trapped in this bar for the rest of my life.
How are you doing that?
What, drinking a martini?
No, I mean, how are you relaxing in a place like this? We heard you had vertigo.
Well, it's true that I couldn't hop out of this place when it originally got spun by that Bunyan guy, but after the first 3 days, you kind of get used to it. Getting drunk helps. There's like a plateau of dizziness a person can feel. Eventually, your body just adapts, I guess. Which is great for me personally. Now I don't have vertigo anymore.
If you aren't dizzy now, why don't you leave?
I need to time my jump perfectly to avoid breaking my neck, and I'm sort of risk averse. Plus, this is the only piano in the state, and I don't have any other career skills to speak of. It's quite a pickle.
You won't have to worry about that for long. We're gonna save you.
Okay, I'll sit here and watch.
So, looking through these windows, it appears that we're spinning counterclockwise. So we need to run clockwise to get this thing to slow down.
Here goes nothing.
Roscoe ran and Checkers galloped in the same direction, jumping over tables and chairs in an effort to end the saloon's sickening spin. And that's exactly what happened. Slowly, the building started to lose speed, and the center of gravity in the place began to pull in the opposite direction.
It's working!
Oh my god! What is this feeling?
The saloon slowed and slowed until it halted altogether. Roscoe and Checkers gently went from a run to a light jog before they came to a stop. Unfortunately, the piano player's body didn't get the memo.
Ah!
Over the week the saloon had been spinning, the piano player's vertigo hadn't gone away like they assumed. It had really turned into reverse vertigo, a rare medical condition that helped them feel at ease while the saloon was revolving. But now that it was still again, the piano player's body started to twirl around like a top, and they hopped up out of their chair and spun out through the front door.
This is horrible!
Look at them go. They're flying out into the distance.
Maybe we should just let them spin themselves out?
That's one more thing to fix on this town's list, but hey, we stopped the saloon. Good job, buddy.
Good job yourself. I'm sure that piano player will be fine in the long run. Now, we need to go back outside and tend to that upside-down brothel.
All right.
As soon as the two walked out of the stationary saloon, they heard a mighty roar come from the forest.
Did you hear that?
Yeah, it sounded like some angry guy.
Oh my gosh. Look at the horizon. That must be him.
A towering Goliath was stomping their way. It was Saul Bunyan, with Pecos Jill and Johnny Appleseed on either shoulder, and they looked furious.
Timbertree Landing, we're back. Shudder in fear at the sight of the Tall-Tale Gang.
No way. Your reign of tyranny is over.
The giant had finally made it to the town's edge, and with two stomps of his massive feet, he was standing above Checkers and Roscoe.
Who dares to speak to me this way?
I'm Roscoe Taylor, the Tallahassee tween. This is Checkers Justice, horse bounty hunter. We are taking you three to jail.
Yeah, what he said.
You hear that, Saul? This little run of the litter with the stupid hat thinks he can take us down.
Ha! You make me laugh. The Tall-Tale Gang can't be bested by any mortal. Get out of our way and start shaking with fear.
Yeah, you'll start trembling if you know what's good for you.
We aren't scared of you. We meet big monsters all the time.
Well, this big monster's gonna crush you like a bug.
Saul stomped down on Roscoe, but our terrific tween ducked backwards and evaded being squished.
For somebody with such a big foot, you sure have bad aim.
Oh, yeah?
He stomped again, and every time his foot slammed towards Roscoe, Roscoe dived out of the way.
I've had enough of your games, small child. Team, let's show 'em why we run this town. Tall-Tale Gang, attack!
Saul Bunyan pulled out a giant axe and pointed it at our hero's direction. Pecos Jill leaped off his shoulder and landed on the street in front of Checkers. She was dressed in typical cowgirl attire with bright orange hair and a nasty smirk. She grabbed her cowgirl hat and flung it towards Checkers. As it spun, razor blades came out of the brim. Johnny Appleseed was next to hop off Saul's massive figure. And as he stomped on the ground in front of Roscoe, he pulled out a Gatling gun and started blasting away in his direction. These bullets, however, were anything but ordinary. He was shooting apples at Roscoe, and in the blink of an eye, 30 apples were hurtling towards our young adventurer at 100 miles an hour. Saul Bunyan smashed his huge axe against the ground in between Roscoe and Checkers with a menacing thud. The earth shook around them, and their odds of winning this fight went from terrible to worse. Oh no, buckaroos. Will the Tall-Tale Gang spell the end of our radio show's main characters? Will I be out of a job? How did these formerly heroic figures of legend turn to a life of crime? There's only one way to find out. Listen to this short commercial break.
You're listening to KZSM.org, True Community Radio.
Welcome back to Roscoe Taylor, the Tallahassee tween. Now let's get back to the action. When we left off, Roscoe and Checkers were outnumbered, outmatched, and out of luck. The two have gotten themselves tangled up in a fight with three living legends. Saul Bunyan, Pecos Jill, and Johnny Appleseed were attacking with full force. Will our plucky pair of cowpokes be beaten? Find out now.
Tall Tail Gang, attack!
Yikes!
Pecos Jill had thrown her razor-sharp cowgirl hat shuriken at Checkers, Johnny Appleseed shot a round of apple bullets at Roscoe, and Saul Bunyan was standing between our pair, getting ready to swing his mighty axe.
You're dead horse meat!
Cut the trash talk, you dopes. We're not afraid of you.
I'll put you in the ground, short stack.
I'm gonna punch you!
As the flying fruit flew at Roscoe, he spun his spurs so fast that they became mini boot saw blades. With a few kung fu kicks, he sliced every apple hurtling his way. Then he delivered a sucker punch to Johnny Appleseed's jaw.
Ow!
Told ya.
Saul Bunyan's axe swung down right on top of Roscoe, and he jumped out of the way with a second to spare. The giant had miscalculated his use of force, and his axe flew straight into the ground, and now his weapon was wedged so deeply in the street that he couldn't pull it back out right away.
Why, you little pest, I'll squash you like a bug.
Stop trying to kill me. Pick on someone your own size.
Roscoe's plea fell on deaf and dastardly ears, as Pecos Jill's buzzsaw hat was still slicing the air in Checkers' direction.
Take that!
Checkers whipped his tail in the air and hit the razor-sharp hat frisbee at the perfect angle, sending it straight into the air. And as it fell back to the ground, Checkers leaped up and the hat landed snugly on top of his own cowboy headwear.
This is my hat now.
Saul Bunyan had yanked the axe out of the ground and began a second assault on the two heroes. He threw all of his strength into a horizontal slash, meant to hit Roscoe and Checkers in one fell swoop.
Look out!
You don't have to tell me twice.
Roscoe jumped up on top of Checkers' back and picked up the razor-sharp hat off his horse friend's head.
Can I borrow this?
No!
Sure.
The Tallahassee tween threw the hat straight for Saul Bunyan's feet, and as Saul tried to jump upwards out of the hat's path, he fell backwards, landing on top of Johnny Appleseed and Pecos Jill.
Haha, we did it! I knew this fight would be no big deal.
As soon as Roscoe said that, Saul let loose a mighty whistle.
Huh?
A thud came bellowing from the forest, growing louder with each second. Finally, a giant blue ox came bounding over the horizon and into the city street. It was 60 feet tall and all muscle.
Babe.
The ox looked at the scene in front of it and quickly decided that Roscoe and Checkers had to go. It hunkered down its horns and began stomping towards the two tiny targets.
That's a weird thing to call an animal, dude.
Never mind that. How do we get it to stop charging at us?
It was too late, though. The fight had worn down our boys just enough that they could not dodge another attack, especially one coming from a gargantuan wild animal. Babe the blue ox trampled Roscoe and Checkers and flattened them on the ground with a hard smack. They were completely beaten, bloody and bruised. Then the huge ox turned around and got ready to charge for the second time. Saul Bunyan and the other two had gotten back up and dusted themselves off. Roscoe and Checkers laid as flat as two pancakes on the dusty streets of Timbertree Landing.
That's enough, babe. These two are done for.
Uh-oh, Saul. Look, your hand!
Saul's left hand looked translucent. It was slowly disappearing before everyone's eyes.
Dang. Thanks for catching that, Jill. I'd better smash some stuff to fight this off. Tie these two up so they don't bug us anymore, will you? Once I fix this old hand of mine, we can kill these two properly.
Whatever you say, Chief.
Saul walked further into Timbertree Landing and started to flip and shake and destroy nearby businesses. Pecos Jill began to hog-tie our stunned heroes, and Johnny Appleseed began reloading his unusual gun.
Hey, we aren't done yet. We can still fight.
Whatever you say, tough guy. Just gotta finish this knot and there. You two aren't going anywhere for the time being.
Why are you three terrorizing this town so much? Don't you have anything better to do?
Yeah, I didn't even think you three existed before today. What gives? And what was up with the big guy's disappearing hand?
Since you're gonna be dead in just a minute anyways, I guess it wouldn't hurt for us to tell you.
Yeah, you twos are toast. It won't matter what you know.
You see, the three of us are tall tales, thus the name.
Okay.
None of us are real people like you. We weren't born. We don't have families. We were just concocted by the Wild West collective consciousness.
What?
People started folklore about me, about Pecos Jill, about Saul Bunyan, and we just popped into existence.
No way. I've only heard of Paul Bunyan, not Saul. And I know about Johnny Appleseed, but I'm sure I've never heard any stories about Pecos Jill. It's Pecos Bill I always heard about.
You know the game of telephone? If enough people pass down stories, sometimes the details get messed up. Here I am.
Well then, where's Pecos Bill?
He's somewhere in Arizona, I think, digging a new Grand Canyon with his bare hands. But that's irrelevant. Around these parts, Pecos Jill is a figure to be feared.
Same goes with Johnny Appleseed.
But why?
Saul Bunyan walked back to the group and his hand was fully formed again.
Time to murder you two.
Wait, we're in the middle of an explanation about you three's whole deal. It would be anticlimactic to kill us now.
Okay, I'll give you 5 more minutes. Deal?
Deal.
Anyways, tall tales don't really get passed around so much nowadays, not like they used to. Before we turned to crime, I was Pecos Jill, the toughest cowgirl in the West. I was raised by wolverines, and I could punch a feller so hard he'd fly around the planet a few times before he landed. But a few years ago, I started fading away. Doing good deeds and having super strength just didn't seem to keep my legacy alive anymore like it used to.
Before we became villainous, I was a legend about a fella who planted apple seeds everywhere. And that's pretty much it. I didn't have a lot of staying power, as you can imagine.
And back when I was Paul, people knew me as a big, friendly giant who chopped down trees and fought wild animals.
Why did you switch to Saul as your first name?
It was a branding thing. I'm a new man now. The kind of man who does what he wants when he wants. All 3 of us are like that. We were all at risk of disappearing forever as do-gooders, but now we're alive and well.
On account of the fear we strike into this town, bad news travels faster than good news. If we live hedonistically and cause a ruckus every couple of days, we'll never die. We'll live forever!
Okay, this is a bit of a convoluted backstory. You felt like you had to be bad in order to keep existing?
Right on the monies. The more well-known we are, the less chance we have of ceasing to exist.
Do you even care about the damage you're causing? The people you've hurt? This place is a wreck, all because you don't want to be forgotten? That's despicable.
You're darn right it is. That's the whole point. We've got this whole town whipped up into a frenzy. They won't stop talking about us for as long as they live. But enough chit-chat. Let's get to the murdering. Pecos Jill, how about you punch them really high into the air, don't hit the moon this time, and when they come back down to earth, I'll squash them with my fist. Then, Johnny Appleseed, you can steal their belongings and plant a bunch of apples everywhere, I don't know. Sound like a plan?
That's the most bizarre death threat I've ever gotten.
Exactly. The stranger the crime, the more publicity we get. Now, it's time to die.
Oh yeah?
Roscoe contorted his young bones out of the hog tie in seconds flat.
Bet you didn't see this coming.
The tween used his spurs to cut Checkers loose of the ropes as well.
Ha! We're free! And your ramblings gave us just the time we needed to get ready for another fight.
Sounds good to me. Tall Tale Gang, attack! Again!
Wait!
Huh?
What?
Checkers, they aren't real, right?
Yeah?
They only exist because people tell stories about them.
Okay.
So let's mess with the details.
Oh, I see what you mean. Saul Bunyan wasn't actually a giant. He was 3'9", and his ox is smaller than a mouse.
It's gonna take more than neck to stop. Huh?
Saul Bunyan and Babe the Ox started to shrink before everyone's eyes.
What's happening? Why am I getting smaller?
This small Saul scrambled around in panic next to his minuscule pet ox as Roscoe turned to face Pecos Jill.
And I heard Pecos Jill isn't mean at all. She loves community service.
What? Why do I feel so charitable all of a sudden?
Jill started heading to the flip budget brothel, and once she was close enough, she punched the side of the building so hard that it flipped right side up.
I'm not waiting for you two to make up stuff about me. I'm gonna start blasting.
Johnny grabbed his gun and fired a slew of apples at Roscoe and Checkers.
This is my moment.
Checkers leaped in front of Roscoe and started chomping away, chewing up and swallowing every one of the apple bullets.
Go Checkers, go!
Fine. If my bullets won't beat you, then maybe I
But
can...
before he could finish that sentence, a loud thud came from behind. Johnny Appleseed went cross-eyed and fell to the ground, defeated.
It's me, the deputy. Whoa!
Whoa!
That's right. I was watching all of this while I was cowering behind the sheriff's office. You two inspired me so much, I came up behind Johnny Appleseed and smacked him in the head with this rock.
That's right, you did. And nobody can say you didn't. I think the day is pretty much saved.
Great job, deputy. I didn't know how many more apples I could stand. You came just in the nick of time.
Thanks. I'm gonna handcuff all three of these varmints. The Tall Tale Gang will terrorize this town no longer.
Roscoe, Checkers, and the deputy started rounding up the 3-foot-tall Saul Bunyan, the mouse-sized ox, and the unconscious Johnny Appleseed. But Pecos Jill was nowhere to be found.
Where did she go? I just saw her flip that brothel upside down.
There, at the other end of the town.
Sure enough, Pecos Jill was walking back, holding the bank above her head.
Here you go, deputy. Sorry we stole your bank. That was mighty rude.
Yeah, it was. I gotta take you into jail, Mrs. Jill. Robbing a bank is still illegal, no matter how you do it.
I'll serve my time if it helps this community.
Wait, before you take her to jail, could she get your sheriff back from the moon?
I'd almost forgotten about that. Yeah, do that.
Can do, buckaroos. Time to use my insanely long lasso.
She whipped her lasso far into the stratosphere, catching a grown man who looked embarrassed and pulled him down to the ground.
Sheriff, you're back on Earth.
I am, and I'm embarrassed. I'm glad to see the Tall Tale Gang are beaten, but what's all been going on since I've been gone?
It's honestly way too much to get into right now.
Yeah, a lot of ups and downs.
You haven't beaten me yet. I may be shorter than I used to be, but I'm gonna keep living as long as my legend survives. I'll never die.
Whatever you say, buddy. Hey, Sheriff, make sure to take down those wanted posters. These three live off of some weird, unspecified kind of legend magic. If everyone stops talking about them, they'll disappear.
Wow, okay, I'll get right to that. Thank you, gentlemen. I don't know what we'd do without you.
Anytime, Sheriff. Anytime.
It looks like things are more or less wrapped up here. Why don't we head on out, Roscoe?
Wait, one thing is still unresolved. Where did that piano player get off to?
Somewhere far off in the wilderness of Upper Oregon, the piano player had finally come to a stop, and they'd been throwing up nonstop for the past 10 minutes.
Ah, some things will stay a mystery forever.
Fair enough. Let's ride, buddy.
As our story comes to a close, the Tall Tale Gang are packed away behind bars, and the town of Timbertree Landing is on the road to recovery once more. Wrongs have been righted, and legends have been bested. But this broadcast isn't over yet. Hear the next episode of the night after this short commercial break.